It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Renee Ritchie has the day off, but hey, great news from Macworld.com. Susie Ochs joins Adam Engst from Tidbits.com, and of course, Andy Ihnatko will talk about the latest Apple news, some, 3 weeks in reviews of the Apple Watch, and a whole lot more. Plus, a fix for a bug that's been bugging me for some time. It's all next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 454, recorded Tuesday, May 12th, 2015. Hey, Schlomo! MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by LegalZoom.com. If you're looking to get a trademark, copyright, or provisional patent application, and more, LegalZoom can help you get started the right way. LegalZoom's not a law firm, but can connect you with an independent attorney. Visit LegalZoom.com and use the offer code MBW in the referral box at checkout this month for your special discount. And by Audible.com to download the free audiobook of your choice. Go to audible.com/MacBreak. And by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas. Go to squarespace.com and enter the offer code MacBreak at checkout to get 10% off. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest Apple news with Apple experts. Of course, Andy Ihnatko, our regular in-house from the Chicago Sun-Times and the Celestial Waste of Bandwidth.com, CWOB.com. Andrew?
I'm hungry and I don't really know why.
I can't imagine.
Had a big breakfast, had 2 slices of cold leftover pizza not 45 minutes ago, and suddenly I want a snack, preferably out of a paper bag.
Mm-hmm. We got some artisanal snacks, including, I guess you saw this on Shark Tank. Yeah. Mini popcorn. That's artisanal. The world's smallest popcorn like that. It's teeny.
It's like a little Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse. Yeah.
Did they get funded on Shark Tank?
I believe they did. I can't remember which shark backed them.
That's not Mark Cuban for sure. Hey, look who else is here. Adam Engst from Tidbits, the longest-running Mac publication ever in history.
Nice to be here, Leo.
And you will never be eclipsed. Pretty much guarantee that.
Not unless someone gets that time machine thing doing something other than backup.
Yeah. Adam, you're standing up, aren't you?
I am. I do work at a standing desk.
Your feet don't get tired?
No, that's not the problem. Actually, if anything, my back gets tired sometimes. Yeah. But I have, let me show and tell. I have this thing called a Verrier stool. Wow.
What the hell is that? That's not standing if you sit on a stool.
Well, you don't sit on it; you sort of lean on it.
Oh.
It's round, so I can just kind of perch a little bit here.
It's like Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz. When she was tired, they put her on a leaning board because she couldn't sit down in her whatever. And you know what? We got a newbie. Everybody got to be nice. Best behavior. Susie Ochs is here. She's executive editor at MacWorld.com, speaking to us from her own professional MacWorld.com studio. Nice to see you, Susie.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
It's just a little tip. Jump right in. If you have anything to say, don't be polite.
Okay, I'll try.
Right? Just jump right in.
Try not to be polite.
This is really the last place to be polite. How many? Dvorak was so funny. He was saying there's a new fascist salute, Apple Watch, and. Yeah, see? Yeah, the Apple Watchers. Yep, we're all doing it. Wait a minute, that's a Moto 360.
What do you mean, wah? I'm using the one that actually has like customizable watch faces.
Oh, shut up.
And has,
Oh, shut up.
I can customize the watch face any way Apple wants me to.
Yes. Any color you want, as long as it's black with Mickey. I think. Go ahead.
I'm kind of waiting for WWDC. I hope that somebody has the forethought to make T-shirts establishing that the official
colors of Apple developers now are powder blue and sort of a grayish metal, because every time I'm talking to a developer, they have like the one kind of Apple Watch that was available in an expedited purchase mode to developers, and they're all like powder blue band and brushed.
That's why I'm wearing white.
I like yours, and you're a runner, Adam. So how's it working out for you as a runner?
Oh, well, I mean, come on, let's get real. It's not in the slightest bit worthwhile for running.
Oh. Well, I think
okay.
Johnny's going to be a little disappointed to hear you say that.
Yeah, well, does he run?
Currently not.
So there's two ways you can use it, and I'll give them credit for this. So you can use it when it's attached to your iPhone. So you carry your iPhone when you run. This is annoying. iPhones, particularly say an iPhone 6 Plus, attach it to your arm, you look like Christy Turlington Burns. She could take off with that thing on her arm. They're big, they're heavy, they're annoying. So you don't have to carry an iPhone with you when you run, because the Apple Watch has an accelerometer in it, and it can tell when when you take a stride. And if you run with it some with your iPhone, it calibrates your stride length. So
somebody told me that on Twitter, which is interesting, because I've been using it on a treadmill, so I'm not going anywhere. And so it's been wildly inaccurate measuring calories and steps compared to what the treadmill's saying. But somebody said, no, you need to go out and run in outside so the GPS can adjust for it adjusts for your stride?
Yeah, adjust to your stride. Because you think about it, every time you take a step, there's a shock. And, you move your arm, there's a shock.
Yeah, so it knows how many steps. It just doesn't know how far I went.
Precisely. And so if once it calibrates, it's actually not too bad. And however, it's not too bad as long as you always run at the same pace on a flat surface, because as soon as you start going uphill or downhill, your stride length changes. As soon as you start going different paces, your stride length changes, and then it gets less accurate.
I realized it just confused the hell out of my Apple Watch. I came in on a Segway today. So it says you just went 2.2 miles and took 3 steps. You must have the stride of a giant, my friend.
So it's really interesting. I mean, I've been enjoying playing with it, but it's really one of those things where I'm having to really think about what other people might do in terms of fitness related activities to figure out if it's going to be useful at all. I mean, calories is the other thing. It's very big on calories. It wants to tell you how many calories you're burning.
But it doesn't really know, does it?
Well, let's assume for the purposes of argument, I don't know, did you see that video that Apple did with where they had people hooked up to oxygen masks and all that? Let's assume that it's actually pretty good at calculating that, although I'm dubious about that, because how fit you are determines how many calories you burn for the same exercise. I burn many fewer than someone who doesn't run at all.
Do they ask your age, your weight?
Yes.
They do.
Yeah, it asks age, weight, and height. Age, weight, height, and gender.
Okay, so it does at least set itself up that way.
But here's the thing. What difference does it make? So I went for a run today. According to the Apple Watch, I burned 567 calories.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Right.
And before people say, well, that means you could eat 567 more calories, I don't think that has any meaning either, because how many calories are in different macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbohydrates, you don't process them 100%. So if you eat 2,000 calories of Haagen-Dazs, that doesn't mean you're going to process 2,000 calories.
Well, but that's true of anything. That's not an Apple Watch issue.
Oh, not at all. But it's more that the Apple Watch is focusing on calories as this primary measurement.
It's not a good choice. I see.
Without any, I won't say any science behind it, because I'm sure there's some science behind it, but I'm trying to figure out what the takeaway is for someone. I mean, all I can really come up with is more calories is better. If you burn more calories, that's good. But it's not something you can plan on. It's like, well, if I burn 300 calories, that's going to make some difference as opposed to if I burn 250 calories.
So I rode yesterday, and it says I rode for half an hour indoor rowing, and it says 319 calories, which is, it's like if you looked it up in a book, you'd see that although that seems like a lot for half an hour, actually. I don't know if I got...
But I had there was a package of M&Ms I had on the plane the other day that claimed it was 250 calories.
Right.
So is there a connection there? No, I don't think there's a connection there.
They're not related, are they? Yeah.
Right. So why are we bothering with this measurement at all then?
Right.
So it's such a
anyway,
disconnect from the other fitness bands, which are all steps. They say 10,000 steps, and just take 10,000 steps, and you're on the road to health. And so
then we should mention
you can't set the goals here in steps. You can only set the goals in calories.
But it's kind of it's at least viable in that I'm thinking of the line from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where in the actual book, The Hitchhiker's Guide, where it's inaccurate, at least it's definitively inaccurate. So I mean, so long as you,
definitive and consistent.
It's like even if your bathroom scale is off by like 4.5 pounds, it will still tell you that you're heavier today than the day before. Yeah. And so if it's at least consistently inconsistent, by saying that I'm lowballing you in your number of steps by a consistent factor every single day, it'll still help me understand how much I'm moving or not moving on a day-to-day and then a week-by-week basis. It's when you get it's when you get accumulation of data that these things really pay off.
I want to point out for people who are new to the watch that there are actually, with the watch, come two different fitness applications. The calorie measurement and things like measuring your distance running and stuff is the workout app, which you actually have to launch.
You have to launch it, and actually, I will note that it's also very hard to see in the sunlight.
Yeah. And you have a choice. You could set a goal for net calories, as you say, calories, set time, set miles, or what I always do is open. Then when you press start, it goes beep, beep, and now I'm running.
Now, here's the other thing you run into.
By the way, the other thing that's cool is it pings you every mile, which is kind of neat. Right?
Yeah, standard in all running watches.
Oh, it is. Yes. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, the other thing that's annoying actually is that you can't see all your metrics on one screen.
Right.
So if you're running, you want to see your distance, your time, and your pace. I mean, you don't want to see calories because calories completely irrelevant to running. But beats per minute, your height rate possibly, but you can't customize those screens. So you can choose a little bit of what shows. You can get. Sometimes you can get two of them showing. You can get, I think, elapsed time and one of the others, or possibly elapsed distance in one of the others. But again, it's for what you might want to see, you actually have to interact with it while you're running, which is just kind of difficult.
Yeah,
and of course you have to interact with the touch screen. Most running watches, you can just reach over and press a button without looking at it. So you don't have to be trying to manage the little touchscreen interface.
So what you're saying is this does not compare with dedicated runners' watches, like the new Garmin, which just came out, which does heart rate built into the watch.
Not in the slightest. I run with a Garmin 620. Tanya just got a Garmin Vivo Active, and they just work way, way better. Aside from the fact that they have the GPS chip built in so that they can actually track where you are. And they're uploading to things like Garmin Connect and Strava so that you can do all the social aspects and web tracking of what you want. One thing that people may not realize, when you do a workout, you can see the details of your workout right afterwards, and you can save it. But once you've saved it, you can't see the details on the Apple Watch anymore. You have to go to the Activity app on the iPhone to be able to find out what you did in the past.
Now, that's the other app, and that's one, I don't know, I'm going to say, I'm not a runner, so the workout app, for me, it's just like keeping track of my workout. But the Activity is that circle thing, and you have a glance for that, and that's the one that says stand up every hour.
Unless it tells me to stand up every hour, even though I'm at a standing desk. So.
Well, see, this is the thing that's weird. It doesn't count the fact that you're doing something as having done anything. So it just does it every hour. It says time to stand up.
So here's the thing. I've been looking into this because I'm trying to figure out what those rings mean. There's move, stand, exercise, and stand.
Yeah.
And so the stand is just you have to have stood for a minute in the last hour, but I think it does check whether you've changed. So if you've just been standing for an hour,
it doesn't know.
Exercise
is heart rate probably, right? Tied to heart rate?
It seems to be related to See, I'm blanking between the difference in exercise and move. One of them is what Apple calls a brisk activity, but they don't say what that means.
That's exercise.
That's exercise, yeah.
And so again, I don't know what that means. It's like if you're walking around, but your heart rate goes above some number, that counts as brisk exercise.
I have burned 81 of 500, my goal of 500 calories for the day in the move section, although I have not had any brisk exercise. And in fact, that's what it says, 0 of 30 minutes in exercise.
In all of those, if you swipe up, you'll see a graph with more stats.
Yeah, previous. Well,
it's just a different display of the same thing.
Right, so here you go. What time? Hour by hour, basically. So you could. I mean, this is. it has more cool factor probably than any real health benefit.
Yeah, I mean, what I keep trying to figure out is what's the goal? Let's say you want to be, improving your health in some way. Will this help? And that's what I want to. I'm trying to suss out.
It will for me. See, you're a trained professional. You run because you're a runner. I am not. I am a sitter. So for me, anything, and but I had the same experience with the Jawbone Up and the Fitbit and everything else. Anything that kind of says, your goal is 10,000 steps and you've got 8,000, I'm more likely to take the stairs or to park farther away and walk. It incents me to try to make the goal. And I think that's valuable. It's not going to be valuable for you, Adam, because you're trying to do something else. I don't know what it is. Run away from the past.
Yeah, for Adam, it's a step down from what he normally uses, but for a lot of people, it's a step up from what we normally use, which is nothing. So, but the problem I've had, I want to know what the heart rate threshold is because I have a Fit bike at home. I got it on Amazon, Fit Bike 2.0. So it's a little stationary bike with a desk attached. So I can sit there and do my work and get some pedaling in, or I can just put my iPad there and watch a movie and do like a real workout. But if I'm working and pedaling, it's not very vigorous. I'm just kind of, I'm still moving. So it's more like a standing desk than, like a treadmill desk. But yeah, so I clocked 40 minutes on there with the workout app just to kind of test it out. But I was sort of dogging it for the first 15 minutes, and that didn't count as exercise minutes. My exercise minutes weren't the same as my time spent in the workout app. So yeah, there is a threshold there where if you're not working hard enough, that got credited to my Move ring in the activity app, but not the exercise ring. And and I took a road trip this weekend and I got the stand thing and I was like, just did a little chair dancing in the car and it said, great, you stood. So
yes, all you have to do to stand is go like this.
Yeah,
wave your
that
arm
wasn't
around.
That great. Yeah.
So the other
sometimes when it tells me to stand, I use that as an opportunity to go over to the fridge and get a snack. So not exactly the intended use, but at least I stood, I guess.
So Susie, I think you could probably hack the exercise thing, but when you get on your Fit bike, just pedal really hard for say 20 seconds. Get your heart rate up and boom, you're good for a while.
Right.
Oh, okay.
This is the problem. It's like every time you hand us a game, there's always you'll play the game and enjoy it, and then you find out how to fix and rig the game. We got our own version of Deflategate happening every second with the watch. Whereas I really do think that the most valuable thing that the fitness watches, no matter what they are, can do is simply expose data that is normally invisible to us. The latest thing that I've been sort of paying attention to with the experimenting with the Microsoft Band is like sleep time. That's actually, it's very, very easy to you wake up and the watch says, "Oh, are you up now?" and press a button and we'll just we'll log you in as being awake as opposed to asleep that we've been watching for the past X hours, and you get your score for sleeping, and it's like. After a week or two, I've been wearing this now for about 2 or 3 weeks, and like, wow, I really don't get enough sleep. I'm aware of all the times that I've been up until 2 or 3 in the morning working, and then I don't have an appointment in the morning, so I'll just sleep until whenever. And I think that I'm still getting like 6 or 7 or 8 hours. So it's like, okay, got 3 hours that night, and then 4 hours the next night. Slept in and got 4 hours the next day. Okay, new rule. We're in bed at midnight and we don't get out of bed until 8 for the foreseeable future. These are things I wouldn't have figured out unless I had numbers saying, here is how many hours we think you slept.
You didn't figure this out on your own with a basic clock? I mean, come on. When you go to bed. You know when you get up. It's not that hard.
No, I need an app for that.
You know when you went to bed last night and when you got up this morning. But if I asked you when you went to bed like 4 days ago, you'd probably have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I can tell that I was really tired. I can tell that I'm really tired because there was something I needed to finish last night. So I'm on about 4 hours of sleep right now. And normally the way I correct that is saying, okay, well, we're going to make sure we go to bed nice and early tonight, and then we sleep in tomorrow, the next day. But you don't really look at here's how many times you've been pulling that kind of crap on yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's the sort of thing that says here is a deficiency, not just in how things went Monday night, but here is your deficiency in your whole attitude towards sleep. That means that you need to apply a new mission rule that says that there is no being out of bed and in the office after midnight. At midnight, you are in bed, and not only are you in bed, but the lights are off, the screens are off, the laptop is closed. You have to make sleeping a priority. Now, fortunately, sleeping is a lot easier and a lot less rough on my body than walking 6 miles a day. I think I can handle sleeping 6 to 8 hours a day.
So is the Microsoft band suggesting that you take a nap right now, Andy?
If it were, I would buy 3 of them right now. I'd buy 3 of them right now, 1 on each angle, 1 on the free wrist, and just 1 free wrist for the Moto 360, and that'll be good for me.
I'm testing the Jawbone Up 2 right now, and I've been using it as a sleep tracker because unlike the Apple Watch, it lasts, a week on a charge, and part of that is because they want you to use it to track the sleep. And yeah, I pulled an all-nighter last Thursday to write something big that I really wanted to get up on Friday. And yeah, it says, okay, you've been averaging 3.5 hours this whole week. You have not been sleeping well. And it suggested to me, so Friday, I don't sleep during the week, and then Friday I go to bed. As soon as my son is in bed, I go to sleep at 9 o'clock, and I kind of try to catch up. It's not a good habit.
Sleep when your children sleep. That's the rule.
Yes, that's the rule.
Unless you have teenagers.
Yeah, if you have teenagers, do the opposite.
I really do think
Jawbone
that
has this thing they call the Smart Coach, and so on Friday it was trying to just nudge me back down. It didn't know about my freaky habit, so it was like, how about tonight you try to get in bed by 1 a.m. because that would be a huge improvement over what I was doing all that night. And I said, oh, Jawbone, I'm going to bed at 8:30, so you don't worry. But
Jawbone, you silly.
Yeah.
You people all work too hard.
The Smart Coach is kind of cool. I like that feature, how it looks at your patterns and then it says, okay, compared to other Jawbone users that are your age, that are your gender, you're doing better or worse. It gives you some of the science. It says, on days that you don't sleep, you're going to be tired the next day, but it gives you better insights than that.
Once again, the knowledge of how the human brain works. That son of a bitch I work is sleeping more than me. Screw him. Nobody sleeps more than I do. I'm going to sleep 12 hours tomorrow just to beat him and grind his butt.
I love sleep. That's where I'm a Viking. So it's been really helpful.
I read somewhere that for every hour, every 10 minutes, some amount of sleep that you lose at night, you will spend 8.4 minutes more the next day browsing the web aimlessly, just wasting time.
Yeah.
Because your focus will be gone.
You're just not all there.
In my day, we called it wool gathering.
There's something very nice about kitty pictures.
The less sleep I get, the more wool I gather.
And captions. But yeah, I mean, you're right in that. I think that's interesting when like tech reviewers are writing about this stuff because it's mostly about, most of the piece is going to be, oh my god, I didn't realize I'm sleeping so poorly. But as soon as I finish this review of the new Jawbone, I'm going right to bed. But yeah,
it's worried about me. It's concerned.
That's exactly right. That's one of the nicest things about the Microsoft app that it does, after it's collected a certain amount of data, it says, okay, here are some things we seem to have figured out that we're just going to put this in front of you. It basically does the intervention like, Andy, we're all in a place of peace and safety. We don't want you to actually tap any buttons. We just want you to look at this data as all of our sensors go around the room and talk about how watching your inactivity has affected us.
So is it safe to say that the Apple Watch is not a good choice if you're choosing it just for exercise, sleep monitoring, health purposes?
Well, you can't use it for sleep monitoring at all because
obviously it's a bad choice for that.
Yeah.
But
I think it really is not. If that's your goal, you really should get a device that does those things specifically.
Cheap, dedicated devices that do much better job.
They're cheaper and they're more capable. And that said, the Apple Watch does some things which are really, really cool.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Those should be the reasons why you're buying it.
Maybe I get achievements. They're stupid, but I get achievements. Where can I go back and get them, or do they?
They're in the Activity app.
The Activity app will have my achievements.
No, the actually Activity app on the iPhone.
Oh, there's an app.
Yeah.
Wow.
Workouts go too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Achievements
when
are
you
kind
set
of
up your iPhone, it puts the Activity app on there.
Oh, I get. Oh.
So there's your rings.
Look,
it's got
look at all my achievements. I got a red button.
Yeah.
See, that's what I said. They're kind of inscrutable.
And I got a green button. So
Apple has a video where they explain several of the achievements. I don't know most of the rest of them that are just. I said I look at them. I just don't know what they mean. Is it like? Does this mean I'm on Star Patrol or what?
First walking workout. So you get stars just for the first thing you do. This is kind of cool. You get a calendar. Hey, thank you. I didn't know there was an app on here. I don't know where Apple put it.
Social component. A lot of the fitness things let you compete against your friends, and that's just totally absent from here. So maybe that's coming later.
Each other.
This doesn't seem to have much of anything. anything in it, really. It's just...
Susie, I actually think that it won't be coming later because if you think about what Apple's done, they really are all about, I, me, mine. It's sync between your devices, not sharing with other people. They don't do social. They don't do sharing, that kind of thing. So I'd be really surprised if they would push this in a big way. I mean, maybe they'll get, you can share a workout to Facebook or something like that via the share sheets. But if it's not there now, it just seems odd that they wouldn't have had it to start with.
Well, they were so gung ho on like Game Center challenges and Game Center leaderboards and stuff that we should gamify the fitness a little bit and just have you challenge your friend. Like, I can burn more calories than you can this week, and winner buys snacks.
Do people still use Game Center?
No.
I have they ruined it when they removed the green felt tabletop. It's interesting to think about how it's been well publicized, all the fitness experts that Apple hired in and all the medical people they hired in to beef up the health aspects of Apple devices, including the watch. I'm really curious to know how many absolute civilians they brought in to really give that sort of reality check, saying that, I know that you think these charts are fascinating. You're talking to a person who will walk a mile, who will take a car a mile to go to the library instead of walking. You're not going to get me to be impressed by my progress through graphs and charts and little stars after launch an app in order to get.
So this stuff goes into, all right, so this is good to know, which I didn't know. And apparently when it installed this, it just automatically stuck it into the folder that it already had called Health, which is where HealthKit was. So it must have known.
Health is the other one.
Which one?
And that's totally inscrutable. Yeah. Totally inscrutable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go half the time you look at those things and you say show all data, and it just dies. I mean, it can't even do it. But the axes on that graph are almost impossible to figure out most of the time. It is just
what is this?
The worst.
All recorded data. Oh, I guess I could get my heart rate for. No, I guess not.
My favorite analogy for the health app is that it's kind of like your medical chart, where like they have to show it to you like it's your data. It would be really awful if they were like, you can't see your own chart, but then when you look at your medical chart, like it's a medical chart, you have no idea what it says. So
here's the sleep analysis I got. No data. Yeah. I guess if I had if I tied it into the Jawbone or some other device, I would. Yeah. So
I think this is an opportunity for Siri, though. Siri can do so many great things if it's thought of as something more than a hands-free device. Imagine that if yes, all this data is there, but it's like, hey, just in case people have that feature turned on, I'll say, hey Schlomo, how's my health doing? And it will just simply say, you over the past 3 days, you achieved your walking goals. However, you haven't been getting up enough, and I wish you would. And it looks like you should get some more sleep. And just put it into one sentence. The way that really good weather apps, they will give you the charts, they'll give you the barometers, they'll give you the weather maps. But the thing you zip right to is tell me in 2 sentences what the weather is going to be like tomorrow. And it's going to be cold tomorrow, but it's going to warm up into the 70s or 80s, and there might be some rain at 4 o'clock.
By the way, I think we are from now on officially dubbing SIRI Schlomo. So from now on, if anybody has to say the S word, just say Schlomo.
I've been doing it for ever since getting like no fewer than like 7 like the sort of like testy emails saying, your last podcast, here's what happened when you said this for 10 minutes. So it's hey Schlomo.
You know what the funniest thing is? First of all, in order for that to do that, you have to have that feature turned on, that when your iPhone is plugged in, it's listening. And I'm surprised the number of people who have it turned on, because I got to tell you, my phone is waking up all the time.
A lot of people listen at their desks and they've got it plugged into a charger.
Yeah, but when the TV's on, all they have to say is, in Syria today, what? Yes? What? I'm sorry, I don't know what you just said.
I heard someone was telling me that he actually had his phone and his watch talking to each other. Mm-hmm. The phone said something, the watch thought it said, hey Siri, and then the phone thought the watch said, hey, it's just kept going back and forth. I gave up on it. My wife and I tend to listen to iTunes U lectures to help us go to sleep.
That's a good way to go to sleep.
We learn so much in our subconscious. It's great. But the iPhone was hearing itself say, hey Siri, which was just stupid.
That's come on. That's, by the way, hey Schlomo. And from now on, whenever we say, instead of okay, the G word, we're going to say okay, Gary. So that's it from now on.
How about okay, Goober?
Goober. No, see, it might wake up.
Guglielmo.
Or a car might arrive out front saying you called for an Uber. So we don't.
Hey, there's an Uber app for the Apple Watch.
I used it.
It's not really clear what you do, and at some point I tapped it and called it. It was like, "Oh man, stop it! I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it."
One of the reviewers reviewing the feature said it's a little buggy, and I ended up calling 7 Ubers.
Yeah, who's the person who did a YouTube review and like just showing how well the Amazon app responds to voice commands accidentally bought an Xbox? I said, okay, I'm going to cut the video because I need to go onto the web now and cancel this order.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're in a building year in which both the watch is learning about how the humans work and humans are learning how the watch works.
My general take on the Apple Watch is, and correct me, you tell me if I'm wrong on this. It's fun. I think this was Gruber's take too. It doesn't do anything particularly well. It's not something you have to have by any means. In many cases, it's easier to actually take the phone out of your pocket and do whatever it is you want to do on the phone. But it's a cool thing to be able to taking a call is a good example. You're probably not going to want to do a lot of having phone calls on the watch. But the fact you can has some coolness.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm talking to a lot. I'm still waiting for my. I'll get my review hardware when it's my turn to get review hardware. But in the meantime, I'm talking to a lot of friends who have them and a lot of people who are just civilians who have them. And it seems as though the things they love about them are the most common sense things about a smartwatch, which is just simply notifications and voice commands. And the other razzle dazzle is stuff that they really they like, but they could live without.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Now, none of this is, by the way, I just want to let you know I've completed my outdoor run workout that I started earlier, and I went 2 feet in 19 minutes and burned 27 active calories, 45 resting calories, 72 total calories.
Have you ever tried leaving the watch on top of your washer dryer during the middle of a dry cycle, like a spin cycle, just to see if it'll get through your entire days of walking?
You do feel like Apple was at some point Apple said to itself, well, we're just going to put some stuff in, as much stuff as we can for fun, and it's decorative. I'm sure they felt a little disappointed they couldn't make it. But my other question is, does any of this go to ResearchKit, or do you have to sign up for ResearchKit, right?
Sign up.
Yes.
Okay.
ResearchKit is something else.
So actually, I'm curious.
Go ahead, Al.
I'm curious, actually, Susie. My wife and I both have them, and we actually think that if for a married couple, both having them is good because that means one of us doesn't kind of disappear into it. But Tanya actually,
you're
I think,
both distracted all the time.
Precisely. We're distracted the same thing.
Okay.
So it's a bonding experience.
Yeah.
But Tanya actually likes hers more than mine because, being a girl, she doesn't have pockets that it fits in, or doesn't necessarily have pockets at all, or her phone is on her desk, or it's in her purse, or whatever. So she's actually liking it a lot more because the watch is with her. Mm-hmm. So she can make a reminder or set a timer or whatever it is without having to go find her phone. Is that something that you're seeing too?
Yeah, definitely. The lack of pockets in ladies' outfits is a national disgrace. But the problem with the watch that I found in my review is that it needs Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So if you turn off Bluetooth on your phone, even though the watch and the phone are on the same Wi-Fi network, the watch can no longer see the phone. So if I'm at my house, Bluetooth, my house is small, so Bluetooth will go pretty much everywhere. So it doesn't matter. I can use the watch anywhere in my house. But if I'm at the office, the Wi-Fi network goes over the whole floor. But if I leave my watch on my desk, if I leave my phone on my desk and walk away, the watch loses it pretty quickly. So if I'm wearing a dress and I don't have pockets, I end up having to carry my phone with me everywhere if I want the watch to still work. So that feels like it could be a lot better. But yeah, I do use it for a lot of things. The things I like it the most for are, I like setting timers and alarms with Siri. I do that a ton with my phone too. So being able to do that with the watch is super handy. I like using it as a remote. I love using the remote app to control my Apple TV because it's strapped to your wrist. You don't have to look for that little metal remote. You don't have to dig out your phone and unlock it. That's just been so convenient. I like the camera remote app. And I think it's going to be a game changer when these companies can finally ship their HomeKit compatible devices because those will all
might be a big
controllable. Yeah. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. I covered a lot of HomeKit stuff at CES, and now we're just waiting for it to all drop, and that's going to change everything.
Yeah, I think that, like, to Leo's point, I don't think that it was a case of Apple throwing a lot of features into the first generation. I really think this is to me, it's really clear that if there's any frustration inside Apple, it's that, oh, I wish we could show everybody how we see this platform in 2016, that we have to have the hardware in place to receive all the software that's going to be coming out next week, to all the APIs that we're going to release once we let developers start to run their own stuff. And once we show them the stuff that we're releasing ourselves in 2016, I think that's very, very appropriate that even today, the people who are buying these are the people who are still, like I've been saying, the early believers. Because even now, I'm really, I got to say that if I thought that it would still take you until July to order a watch and get one, I certainly would have done whatever I had to do to be to stay up on the West Coast and make sure that I bought one like 1 second after it got released. Because right now, even the people who are buying them right now are not people who are making a typical consumer purchase. They're buying something. They're placing an order for something they know is not going to arrive for 2 months, which suggests a certain unusual level of interest in the product. But I believe that once it's the end of this year or early next year, when more pieces of the puzzle are in place, I think this watch is going to make a lot more sense, and hopefully you'll be able to actually convert money in your hands to a watch on your wrist in something less than 48 hours.
I feel like it's a sketch. It's an outline of what they want it to be.
It's potential. I mean,
it's like the first sketch that a Michelangelo might do on the wall before he actually puts tempera on plaster. Just kind of sketches the outline, and then one hopes that it will be filled in before we have to buy version 2.0 anyway.
I'm going to be really interested to see what the third-party developers can do with it. I mean, the current apps are terrible, and it's not their fault. I don't blame any developers. They were writing to complete, guesses as to what this was going to look and work like. Marco Arment had a piece about that recently where he sort of said, I started thinking it was an iOS device. Overcast, yeah. And then I realized it's not. It's basically this kind of little viewport into my app and a kind of a remote control. And when you think of it that way, it changes the way you think entirely. So developers are going to figure this out much more quickly now. So we're going to see that. But the thing that I'm frankly a little distressed by is that I don't see, and I think, Andy, you've talked about this with the Moto 360, I don't see Apple going the next step. They're providing the tools, but they're not using the tools in such a way as to predict what might be useful to me right now. So, yes, you can get passbook stuff, but you've got to go to the notifications to get it. It's not like knowing that I'm in an airport. Yeah. And the passbook should be the thing that comes up, every time. So, as soon as I go into the boarding line, I've got to fiddle with my watch to get the boarding, QR code up. It was easier to use the iPhone, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, I like the philosophy of Android Wear, which is that this is a wristwatch, in that every time you do this, it is the watch's job to figure out why you did that and display that one piece of information that you probably most intensely want, so that you can put it down again. I love the fact that this is valuable to me, despite the fact that I rarely have to interact with it or tell it what I want. Even though
I
it's
think
less
Android
ambitious.
Wear has a big advantage just because Google Now is so darn useful.
Those cards are really useful.
Yeah,
it's
so
amazing.
great.
And that's an example of, it knows you're at an airport and will pop up the notification, the QR code immediately. What about Walt Mossberg, by the way, finally wrote his piece, and I think he did the right thing, which is he wore it for 4 weeks before he wrote his review of the Apple Watch. And one of the things he said was a great experience, and this is an example, I think, of what you just said, Adam. Once developers figure out how to do it, checking in at the W Hotel. He says, as I walked into the lobby, my room number appeared on the watch. I walked right by the front desk, went to the room, and used the watch as a key. That, if I had that experience, now you have to stay at one of the several hundred Starwoods that support that right now, but that would be the kind of experience that would make you say, yeah, I'm glad I bought this. Yeah.
Yes. And
we need more of those. If you have 5 of those.
Yeah. Cool. I was just at a conference, and I had the little swipey card and things like that. It is not a big deal, but this was a hotel conference, so I'm going up and, back and forth to the room, 3 or 4 times, probably more, 5 or 6 times a day. And no, it's not a big deal. I can get the little swipey card out of my pocket and swipe it. But if the watch actually opened the door for me, that would be something which I would notice every time I did it.
And not waiting in line to check in, even, especially at a conference, would be a great thing. So it's going to, it is, I'm really open to the idea that in 6 months we can revisit and say, yeah, now there are some really useful apps. The Uber experience wasn't bad, but I basically I just to be sure I knew what was going on, I brought out the phone.
Yeah, same here.
And I think that's going to be a problem if you can't be good enough to leave the phone in the pocket. It's not going to solve that problem. Let me ask you about this heartbeat, and so you and Tanya have it.
Yes.
Does Susie? Does your husband have one or no?
No, he doesn't. So yeah,
You sound so sad when you said that.
he wouldn't even have an iPhone if I didn't keep forcing my old iPhones on him. He's not.
Lisa, my wife, has one, and for the first few days, we drew pictures and sent heartbeats, and then never again.
Yeah. No, it's a total gimmick. It demos well. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's a gimmick to use with the other person. It doesn't actually demo that well. We've found demoing the watch because we've had dinner with friends and whatnot, and they say, "Oh, what's the Apple Watch?" And, you see people out. It's really hard to demo.
Yeah, I have the same problem because you can't. You have to hold it funny.
You have to go around to the person on the right side, so they can see. Otherwise you're craning your wrist.
It's like tying someone else's necktie.
And
you got to get behind them.
It's turning off the screen all the time.
Yep.
And the messaging is not really tight enough. In other words, I'll get a message on my iPhone often 30 seconds to a minute before it comes through on the watch. And so just when you're
to me
trying
too. Sometimes 20 minutes.
Yeah. So it's just
that's annoying.
It's one of those things where if the phone's in my pocket, I gotta it's gonna come through on the watch soon.
A perfect example of that, and another example of I had to take out the phone was we ordered pizza. Now the pizza delivery company texts you when they get to the restaurant, when they arrive out front. So it was here at work, so I knew that I would get a text when they were out front, so I didn't have to worry. I just went right to the front door. Except that the watch didn't. The phone did. I never got those texts, so I just ended up taking out the phone. And that's a little bit frustrating. Let me show you. The sad thing, and I'm going to do it right now, is when you send your wife a heartbeat and she doesn't respond. And that's really depressing. So here I'm going to do. So, I force pressed it. Gosh darn it! I hate it when I do that.
While we're waiting, that's surprising.
While we're waiting,
that's surprising to me because I've been joking to friends because now I've typically got the Microsoft band on my right wrist. I've got the Moto on this wrist. So every time I get a text message, I'll feel a buzzing in my pocket, and then like 2.5 seconds later, it'll appear here and here like I'm having a stroke or something. I never have to wait more than a few seconds for it to propagate through my personal body network.
Yeah. That's a tricky, I'm sure that's a tricky thing to do. And Lisa and I are on different networks. She's on Verizon, I'm on AT&T. So that might also be an issue because maybe she's not getting. I think sometimes she gets my heart like a day later. And
or maybe Verizon simply feels that you're unworthy of love, Leo. Have you ever figured that?
Hey, did you see Verizon just bought AOL?
Yep.
I don't even know what to say to that. It's sort of like, really?
Wall Street Journal's take on it was two crumbling empires together at last.
What does AOL actually do these days, anyway?
Mobile and video, apparently. That's what they say.
Really? They've got an ad network that actually works. And Verizon would very much like to not just simply be the water and power company, because once you're paying your monthly bill for water and power, yeah, it's like
especially as Google and others get into the business, it's less and less valuable. Yeah. Well,
they just want all those dial-up lines.
But the big issue, if you're Engadget, one of the AOL properties, and Verizon owns you, does that make it difficult to do your job?
Yeah, evidence tends to say that there's always going to be firewalls that are put into place. There are always going to be promises made, but that's nice that they say these things. It's nice that they mention that in interviews, but wait until 1 year later and then 2 months after that when the first editors who quit and discussed are willing to talk about the experiences they had, because
didn't CNET have that with CBS?
We've seen a lot of stuff like there are a bunch of stories, and I'm scrambling to remember actual names, but stuff like that where stories get killed for odd. I think it was I shouldn't guess.
It was the CES. There was CNET tried to.
You're right.
CNET had some kind of
they
hardware
gave
they really
the
liked.
best of CES awards to the Hopper, which was the Dish Network device that let you skip commercials, and CBS said and they retracted the award. Perfect example. Bingo.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. Both Andy and Adam are having trouble with, so we're going to recall you on Skype and see if we can get that. Oh. Susie, you're perfect.
Woo.
Don't move. Our show today brought to you by LegalZoom.com. If you're looking to get a trademark, I found trademarks to be very useful. A copyright, a provisional patent application. If you're ready to start a business, are you the next world-famous entrepreneur? Maybe you don't care about fame. Maybe you just want to help people. Maybe you just want to have a business, whatever your motivation. If you're an innovator, you can launch your dream, especially easy this month, with LegalZoom.com. We use LegalZoom to incorporate our LLC. And we registered Twit and the Twit logo as trademarks. We don't have any patents, but if you have some patents, they'll help you do that. Over the past decade, they've helped more than 1 million people just like you turn their ideas into reality. For a limited time, special savings on any trademark, copyright, or provisional patent application at LegalZoom.com. And if you're not sure where to begin, even though LegalZoom is not a law firm, you can get advice from LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys. They're in most states. You could choose your attorney based on profiles and unedited consumer reviews. You get guidance you need to get your idea off the ground, legal help here, as well as all the stuff you need to make the trademark or copyright or provisional patent application. It really is great. Make the smart choice for your business at LegalZoom.com today. Don't forget to use our offer code MBW when you check out, and you get that special discount. Trademarks, copyrights, and provisional patents this month. LegalZoom, it's Innovation Month. Did you know that? LegalZoom.com. Promo code is MBW. And actually, it makes it so easy. In a way, this is really good. You tend to do more of that stuff that you should be doing because it's easy. Instead of putting it off, saying, "Yeah, I'll get that trademark and someday when we're doing really well." And we can, but no, it's great. You can do it now. Adam Engst is here. He is from the fabulous Must Subscribe, absolutely free, although they wouldn't mind a little support. Tidbits, the longest-running Macintosh publication. I get it every week, and I love it. And you can also go to tidbits.com and read it there. And, boy, I am going to read this Jeff Carlson article because photos has been driving me crazy. Crazy. All the information, all the news is right here, tidbits.com. Also here with us, I'm really glad to have her. Her first time on MacBreak Weekly, Susie Ochs, editor at macworld.com. SF Suze, S-O-O-Z on the Twitter. SF, S-O-O-Z. And Ihnatko also here from the Chicago Sun-Times. Anybody else having problems with photos? Is it working good for you?
we are getting so many comments.
Anytime that you're forced to do something like move from iPhoto to Photos, you're going to have people who are just unhappy. But I have to say, it has for instance, I cannot use it anymore. It crashes every time, and I've tried rebuilding, I've tried everything, and it just crashes on my Mac Pro. It's depressing.
Yeah.
I think that Photos is going to be an interesting one. Apple has, we're hoping it's a little bit of the Final Cut Pro situation where it's going to get better over time as they bring back the features that just disappeared in the process from even iPhoto, much less aperture. But I will say that, honestly, I wrote a book about iPhoto 1.0 way back when and went through 5 editions. So I have a lot of experience with that product. And they never really quite got it. That it was just never a solid thing that seemed to do what it seemed to live up to its potential. So I'm kind of hoping the Photos group is a completely different team. I worry a little though.
What are you hearing, Andy?
I'm just sorry that they really seem to have cleaned house and lost the Aperture members of the Aperture team and people who have been doing stuff in Photos on the Mac and iOS that I've thought were very, very good. That said, I had my first real live fire exercise with Photos during that week I spent in Yosemite, and it was extraordinarily positive. It helps that I wasn't importing a legacy library. I was simply starting from scratch, treating this MacBook like it was a brand new MacBook, which technically it was, and suddenly dumping 200 or 300 photos per day into it.
What I should do is just start over.
Yeah, I also have to say that I'm a little bit worried about trusting my entire photo library to an Apple proprietary product, especially when you get to the point where after X number of months and a couple of years, you're going to have so many photos up there that it is going to feel like such a titanic undertaking to switch to a different phone or switch to a different tablet or switch to a different operating system that I'm not necessarily saying that platform agnosticism is the ecumenicalism is the most important consideration, but given that other services like Flickr that recently went to a all-you-can-eat sort of model, plus we want to back up and be your central photo library for everything. If you subscribe to Adobe Lightroom, Adobe Creative Suite, you can sync between platforms really, really easily.
I love it automatically. Thank God Lightroom exists, because.
But you have to specify specific albums. It's not
collections.
Just
But you can solve that by simply you can do that. You can basically, if you want to take everything you ever put onto your MacBook and have it backed up and have it available in that central repository, you can do that. And secondly, a lot of the people who have been coming to me with their own observations and their own questions have been like, there are pictures that are really personal, and I don't want them anywhere that's outside of my personal control. And I'm okay. I would at least like to simply say, look, these are private, and we're not talking about stuff that video nasties or anything like that. We're talking about, look, these are pictures of my kids, and this is pictures of I could imagine a situation in which some people like to document even the most horrible parts of family life, including an illness. And the idea that I don't have control of these pictures of a loved one who's going through the worst time of all of our lives, I don't want that to be anywhere but on a device that I control. I'd like to simply say, don't back this up anywhere. Don't upload this to anywhere. Don't have any situation in which this could be the football that's on the field in play, because this is personal and private. I don't think Apple has really screwed anything up here. I think that it's a wonderful it's a very, very modern way of expressing the idea of photos that's very much in tune with the generation and a time where people don't think of photos as even albums that get handed around, but as devices where they want to find the one thing that spontaneously they want to show to somebody. And the editing features are a lot better than way better than I even imagined them to be at a 1.0 release. But it might be one of these systems that's going to take a number of months, like the Apple Watch, to take it from something that works for people who are testing it and now has to be something that tens of millions of people all across the world are going to be very, very comfortable using.
I agree that it's a real issue with this sort of locking yourself into someone's ecosystem. And I mean, we're getting a lot of questions from people saying, hey, can I use this with Dropbox? Well, you can put your photos library in Dropbox, but I'm not entirely certain how that works when you start switching between machines, and does it sync well? And certainly you wouldn't be able to see it in iOS and all of that. I will say that the big thing that I wanted ever since the iPhone and particularly iPad came out is iCloud Photo Library. I want to be able to see my library, the whole thing, from any of my devices and be able to do anything I want. It's a little bit weak on that still in terms of being able to keyword stuff and title photos and things like that on iOS, but at least edits and that kind of thing do pass through. So that's all good, but I do agree there's a little bit of concern with are you committing all of your photos to a particular Roach Motel, and that's going to happen with anything. But if you do you stay outside, then are you giving up photos as a management tool? Do you have to go to Lightroom as a management tool at that point? Yeah. Which nothing wrong with Lightroom, obviously, except for the fact
for it.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's kind of expensive. I mean, I'm looking at like $5 a month for iCloud Photo Library for the number of photos I have, but that's a lot cheaper than having another subscription to a separate subscription to Creative Cloud. Luckily, I already have Creative Cloud 2 for InDesign and Photoshop, so whatever.
I guess my difference is that I use these two tools differently, and that I already have solutions for backing up photo libraries, so I'm not worried about that. And what I like about Lightroom is that just the idea that, again, coming over from Yosemite, I've got at least 500, 600, 700 photos. And the hardest thing to do is, and the thing that keeps me sometimes from actually getting to the business of organizing these things is when am I going to sit down and go through and look at each and every one of these and choose which ones are at least worth my further attention. And when I'm on commuter rail or something where I'm waiting for a train and I just remember that, oh, by virtue of the fact that I've enabled syncing on that collection in Lightroom, that means that all of these photos are now synced in some form onto this iPad. I can simply use this beautiful like 8x10 prints of each one of these pictures to say yes, no, 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 yes, no, hell yes, no, 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 and that's what I tend to use it for.
You can do that with Lightroom too.
Well, that's I'm talking about Lightroom.
Oh, I thought you were talking about photos. Can't you do that with photos? Too. I mean, doesn't anything you do on your phone transmit to the photos on your desktop? Yeah.
So you can create collections. You
know what Proteus suggests, and I think he's right. Apple should create a incognito folder that is encrypted, private, and does not sync.
So the way Photos works is you have a system photo library, and that's the one that can sync to iCloud Photo Library. You can have multiple other photo libraries and open them either by just double-clicking them in the Finder or holding an option when you launch Photos, and those will not sync.
The problem is that my photos that I'm worried about are on my phone. I take them on the phone, and I think this is universal.
In that case, you're just toast.
Yeah, you don't. There's a cute little naked puppy in front of you, and you want to take a picture. And you don't because you don't know what the hell is going to happen to it. Right?
Absolutely.
It's a natural paranoia. Well, that's annoying. Create a incognito. That's what you need to do.
It is about control, and that's what people. Even if it's the illusion of control, sometimes that's good enough for a lot of
the illusion would be happy. I'd be happy with the illusion.
One thing I will say that their Lightroom and Photos are they're two different approaches towards the same problem. What I like about Lightroom is that it does preserve the idea of a workflow towards a goal, as opposed to Photos is that, look, you're going to take a lot of pictures. It's our job as your photo resource to make sure they're safely on every single device that you'll ever want to use them with, and that you can improve some of them if you feel as though some of them need to be tweaked. Whereas with if they're people who take pictures like me, which is, again, I've got 900 pictures, of which only about 80 are going to be worth ever showing to anybody, and of those, maybe 12 are going to be worth posting someplace. And Photos isn't as good at that as Lightroom is.
And Lightroom also has a better connection to Photoshop for people who actually want to do serious editing.
Right.
Photos cannot use an external editor at this point.
Adobe's so smart with that $10 a month photographer's bundle where you get Lightroom and Photoshop. That's
just genius. You have no idea how much power is in photo. You think about Photoshop as, okay, so here's how I do like a spot exposure on this, and this lets me like erase out from the background this the person in the wedding party who like dumped your sister like 3 months after the picture was taken. It really is almost like an operating system for digital images. And the more time you spend on like lynda.com or other like video tutorial sites, and you realize that, oh, so you mean that if I want every single thing in the field of view of this camera to be in focus, all I have to do is take 5 or 6 pictures and keep adjusting the focus in every one, and I don't have to do any like masking. I just simply open them all up with this one command, and then blend them with this other command, and basically tell Photoshop, make sure when you blend, you don't blend anything that's not in focus. And then 3 seconds later, oh my God. And it's like, this has been in this app that I've had on my computer for the past year and 4 months, and I have never used it because I have never looked at more than one level deep into menus. And for $10 a month, it's like there's no problem there is not a solution to within this app. It's like, don't be intimidated by Photoshop. It wants to help you. It's like that neighbor that has a rec room and like a garage full of tools and a machine shop, and they're never used. And the one thing he would love is for you to come over and like use the lathe that he bought a year and a half ago that's never used. That's what Photoshop is. Please come over. Let me do wonderful things with your pictures. For $10 a month, it's great. It's like Netflix, only with creating things.
Is anybody using the new MacBook? Susie, are you using that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Is it fast enough to do, Photoshop? And I mean, I love how thin it is.
Photoshop on it. I'm Pixelmator all the way, and it's great
but Pixelmator works, right?
Yeah, that's great.
My MacBook review should be arriving, hitting the Sun Times either today or tomorrow.
Good. What do you think?
I think one of the last things I did was to install the full Photoshop on it, and I was very, very surprised that it actually works and doesn't even just like halfway work for things. The way that I put it, and this extends to Final Cut and other like really professional level apps that I put on it. It probably doesn't perform well enough for people who make their living with these apps. But for someone like me who occasionally uses Photoshop, it works just fine. You'll be able to get your jobs done. One of the things I was doing to sort of really test it to the point of ridiculousness was in taking a hour-long HD video that I captured off my DVR and then converting it from that weird DVR file format to an MP4 file with Handbrake. And I did it on my 2013 MacBook Pro, which has a really good processor on it. I did it on the MacBook Pro. The new MacBook. The new MacBook did it in about 20% more time, but it did it, and it wasn't like it took 2 or 3 times more. So it's not optimal for that sort of stuff, but you can do it. Nothing's really off the table. And the other thing is for stuff that's not necessarily professional grade, iMovie had no problem cutting all the commercials out of that TV show and mixing it down. GarageBand had no problem recording live audio and also editing in multi-track. Again, it's not optimal for stuff that if you're making money off of professional apps. I certainly wouldn't use it as an Xcode test bed if I'm doing lots and lots of builds, but I don't really think that there are any apps that are really off the table for the new MacBook, and that really surprised me.
The reason I ask is, well, first of all, Lisa's ordered one. She's going to get one soon. Did you, Andy, were you using the base model or the stepped-up model?
I'd have to double check. Okay. Even the step-up model isn't that much hotter.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot more expensive.
It's an Apple loaner, and as a matter of fact, I have to send it back tomorrow or the next.
Well, it's the hard drive will tell you. If you have 256 gigs, that's the base model. If you have 512, that's the up a level. But I just know the only reason I ask is because Kevin Rose had one when he was in studio on Saturday doing the new screensavers. Yesterday, Jim Louderback was on Triangulation. He had one, and when I see 2 kind of power users using them, it's intriguing because man, is it thin and light. And
it's really quite attractive.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but traveling, I don't think that you can possibly review this unless you spent a week traveling with it through multiple airports.
Right.
And suddenly having the difference between a 13-inch MacBook and a 12-inch is substantial, way more than you think it's going to be.
It made my MacBook Air feel heavy.
What? Really?
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, my 13-inch MacBook Air, I'm like, it's so much heavier.
Susie, do you have the same experience that I was having, especially when traveling with it? It's like I feel myself like I'm not carrying even my laptop bag. I'm carrying like my larger iPad bag, the little shoulder like sort of thing, and I keep like having to touch the inside of it to make sure that I haven't left it behind somewhere. Right, because it's like I'm used to even with the Air and certainly with my 13-inch MacBook Pro, I'm used to having some sort of sensation that I've got a laptop with me. Only this new device, it just reads totally like an iPad.
Last year, I did 3 trips in a row, and on my 3rd trip, I got to the airport, got out of the Uber, and like slung my bag over my shoulder and was like, wait a minute, my bag isn't as heavy as it should be, and realized that I had left my MacBook at home. I had to like get back in the Uber, go home. I only live 10 minutes from the airport, so it was fine. I made the flight. But with this MacBook, I don't know if I'd be able to tell just like throwing it on my shoulder like that. Like I might have to start really like looking through before I go through security to make sure I have my MacBook. Because it's really light. It's noticeable.
I like what you said, Andy, about using a different bag, because one of the things that I've run into is that I actually long ago thought, geez, these laptops keep getting lighter. How come my bag isn't getting any lighter? And I ripped my bag apart and literally weighed every object in it. It was amazing how much crud you carry. I mean, the laptop was the least of it in some ways. all the cables and adapters and dongles.
Well, you do need a dongle on this one. I mean, with one Type-C port, you're going to want to get that $79 dongle, right? That has true USB, HDMI, and then another Type-C for power.
But here's another great thing. If you have like a really good heavy duty battery pack, like for the sort of thing that can charge your phone like 6 or 7 times and your iPad like twice, it will actually charge and extend the battery of the MacBook. so that because it's just USB-C and there's nothing proprietary about the charging protocol, so long as it's connected to a source of power, it will charge. And so I find that with this little $40 Anker battery pack that is almost always in my bag because I like to have a couple of days worth of power with me when I travel, I'm getting like 18, 19 hours of uptime. It will charge about half as quickly as it would from the wall wart. But the ability to simply the ability to take this on an overnight, and for that 24 hours or 36 hours, I don't even have to care if I'm ever going to be near a power outlet. That's another huge win.
That's really interesting, Andy. So, because Julio Ojeda Zapata, who reviewed it for Tidbits, said that he tried charging it from an iPad charger and it wouldn't do it. But it's just saying that if the battery, just plugging it into a battery, will work.
No, I got tricked too. Did he actually? No, I'm serious. I scrounged up like where everybody who has the ability to make a USB-C anything. There's like 7 press releases in my inbox. I had a couple of cables, and so I plugged in my one USB-C to like USB 3.0 cable, and it reported to this battery pack, and it reported that not charging. And you got the dunk, so it could tell that it was connected to something that could deliver power, but it wasn't reporting not charging. So I unplugged. Damn it! Oh well, yeah, that's too much to expect. And then I thought, wait a minute, what if it's actually charging, but it's not? It doesn't recognize it as a power adapter. Left it going, and it was actually putting on about. It took about, if it takes about 2 hours, I think, to charge it from 0 to full on the included adapter, it would take about 4 hours to charge it up to about 89 to 90%, and then the curve would flatten to the point where it really wouldn't get much above 90%. But the really cool thing is, if you are simply working with it and you keep it plugged into that battery pack, you will not be taking any power off of the internal battery as it's going.
That's great, and the fact that you can actually have external batteries that are both obviously generic enough to run with the iPad and the iPhone and run the MacBook as well. That's very neat.
I did ask Apple that question explicitly, and they explicitly said there is absolutely nothing proprietary about the chargers, absolutely nothing proprietary about the protocol. If something is capable of delivering power across USB-C, it can conceivably charge this device. And no doubt we'll start seeing people who are developing battery plates that are specifically designed to work with this thing. You might even have like a Mophie cafeteria tray that you just chonk it into that gives you like 48 hours of power at the expense of making it look like a compact from 2003.
I also feel like Type-C connectors are going to be ubiquitous in the next. It won't happen right away, but in the next year or two.
It's a pain in the butt, really, because I was determined during my trip to Yosemite to do everything, use this as my sole computer for come hell or high water. And in order to deliver a presentation to VGA, I had to carry with me a VGA to HDMI adapter, plug the HDMI adapter into an Apple TV, have a little portable like a Wi-Fi base station creating a private network, and then have AirPlay streaming from the MacBook to this device, and all of that. And I put that in the review just to be funny, but this is a problem that solves itself during the summer. Once it's unfortunate that you'll have to spend $79, I think, to get the little dongle that contains those 3 extra connectors on it. But once you have that problem is effectively over with. And to be fair, even on the MacBook Pro, you still need to travel with some sort of a dongle because this is a VGA world. You cannot count on HDMI. And so you'll be traveling with some sort of an adapter anyway. So it may as well be this USB-C one.
I have also the Pixel, the Chromebook Pixel that Google did with the Type-C. And they did the right thing, and I wonder. I would guess that next generation
2 ports,
one on each side.
Yeah.
There are a couple of benefits. One, you can power it on either side, right? So that's convenient to have an ambidextrous power. But then the other port can be used with a dongle or used with I think lots of devices, and most phones probably be Type-C. I'm hoping the iPhone 6S will be Type-C.
The good news is that USB-C makes it a lot easier to do things like a hub as opposed to a simple an unpowered adapter. That was a frustrating limitation of the first MacBook Air, where it came with only one USB port, and it was difficult to put more than one device on it unless you have a really good powered USB hub. The devices that I've been seeing, I haven't actually put my hands on it, but I've been talking to some of the engineers who are building them, make it seem as though if you have this, it'll be possible to build this one harmonica-like device that will have VGA, it will have a couple of
harmonica-like.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what they look like. It looks like a harmonica, a white harmonica with a little pigtail connected to it. Really, what you really need is you need the ability to have at least 2 USB 3.0 ports going at the same time, because figure on, I need something to act as this SD card reader, and I need something to act as, I can take my photo library from my desktop office to and carry it with me when I travel. So there are a bunch of solutions to that. And again, these are things that are going to solve themselves as more people start making these devices. I think that everybody should be happy that we're free of the tyranny of the proprietary power plug that people have to be able to buy and license that connector, and Apple was not allowing people to license that stuff. So there are limits to what people could buy because this is just simply bog standard USB-C. Anybody can build anything they want that conforms that standard, and Apple supposedly is not going to do anything to interfere with whatever anybody wants to build.
But I do miss MagSafe.
Do you?
I mean, MagSafe. You just.
Well,
oops! I just unplugged my laptop. Oops!
I was about to say, at distances further than 12 feet, I can't really shoot it with one shot. I have to get a shotgun to really blow a hole inside it. Which is what that's one of there are very few things that Apple has designed in the past 10 years that I can, without any reservation whatsoever, say is just badly designed. That I don't understand how that design ever left the engineering department, because it is so clearly, emphatically ill-suited for the purpose of maintaining a power connection to a device that requires a lot of power, that it must be nice to only work on a desk where you have the ability to simply put a strip of gaffer's tape down on the cord so that it never, ever, ever, ever... I just hate it. I've been using this machine for over a year and a half. It's still frustrating that I'm on the sofa. I just simply move my leg a little bit, off comes the connector, or yep. I'll leave. I'll simply get up, put it on the sofa cushion, and I'm sure the power is connected. Go back upstairs and go to bed. Come back the next day thinking that, okay, I got a whole busy work to do inside the library. At least nope, it's not charged up because it popped off during the night, and now there's basically 20% power left. Oh, you bastards! Oh, you bastardy bastards!
Yeah, I'd trade MagSafe for that external battery charging, because I used to have a HyperMac battery that had a MagSafe thing on it, and then they had to discontinue that. It wasn't licensed or something. They had a really crazy workaround where you had to buy the Apple accessory that you would use in airplanes, and then you had to plug that into the battery and then the other side into your MacBook. And it was a mess. So I clung to this super heavy HyperMac battery for dear life, because that was the only way to charge my MacBook on the go. And yeah, so MagSafe was cool when it worked, on a desk. But like Andy says, yeah, sometimes I'm working on a couch or in a bed, and then as soon as you put it down or tilt it at all it has to do is one little corner has to come up, and it doesn't work. So I would rather have USB-C charging and be able to use external batteries, and then you don't have to worry about being tethered to a plug, which is MagSafe's whole point.
I got your harmonica-like device right here, thanks to Scooter X in our chat room. This is a Kickstarter called Hub Plus from a company called Nanda. Yep. You've seen this, $80, and it does exactly what you were talking about. It plugs into the Type-C port on your MacBook and then gives you every other kind of port, including another Type-C out the back. I think this seems like a good idea.
We'll be seeing some good docks. I'm sure.
Yeah. And this is the same price, by the way, as Apple's overpriced $79 dongle, which doesn't do nearly as much. This has got a card reader. It's got a battery in it. Yeah.
To be fair, I bet the inside of the Hub Plus is not painted just as well as the outside.
Okay, you're right, and the holes may not exactly be level.
Can you put a price tag on that?
Let me see. I'm looking to see.
Comes in gold.
It comes in gold.
Oh, that's if they make their stretch gold. This, by the way, they've already funded. They were looking for $35,000. They've got $192,000 and 34 days to go. I'm trying to find the specs on the battery.
Yeah. So what's the battery for? Is it can actually power anything?
Built-in for phone. It doesn't charge the. Although I don't know why it couldn't charge the computer. or at least give it a little extra juice.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, that's the whole point of this. To your point, Andy, that it doesn't need a certain amount of watts. It could trickle it.
It just wouldn't. I think it would just suck it dry so too quickly, probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how much could it be in there? But.
Yeah. Like, I just need 2 more minutes.
It's got an USB-C in and out. It's got an SD card reader, lithium-ion battery, USB-A plus charging, USB-A plus charging, USB-A plus charging. 3 of those. I like it. It's got a mini display port. So kind of cute. 3 USB plus. Yeah. Look at that. I don't know what's going on there with the green, but
charging.
It's charging. That's you flow it through. It's flow through charging.
Just to rub our face in it.
If the cables actually did that, I would buy it so quickly.
There is a cable somebody told me about that has LEDs in it.
Yep.
They go faster when it's charging, and then when it gets to 90 and it starts trickle charging, they slow down.
Isn't that cool?
And then when you're all the way charged, they stop. Yeah, I can't remember what they're called, but they are
either.
pretty neat.
I saw them at NAB.
I will say the thing that's I was just traveling, so I was in a hotel room, and all the LEDs, man, you got to really like put your clothes over everything so you
light
can
up the
sleep
room
at night.
Yeah, they don't do night lights anymore. They don't need to. Everything's lit up. The room glows. I'm going to order one of these, and I'll let you know. I have such bad luck with Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's not a store, kids. Hey, let's take a break. We're going to come back with more Andy Ihnatko, Chicago Sun-Times, Susie Ochs from Mac World. Yes, there's a Mac World still, macworld.com. Were you at the print publication too, Susie?
I was at Tech Hive. So I was at Mac Life.
That was Jason's. Tech Hive was kind of Jason's side.
Yeah, that's how I came to IDG.
I love Tech Hive. Yeah. It's still going, right?
It is. They've kind of pivoted to just be a smart home and connect streaming media, cable cutting kind of site. So they're just doing smart home, but Mike Brown's running it, and he's a smart home genius. So they're putting out a lot of good stuff.
Good. And, of course, Adam Engst from the Immortal Tidbits. He's immortal. The guy, he looks 25. He's looked 25 for 25 years. I don't understand it. Amazing.
Well, you didn't see my hair back then.
Amazing feat. Oh, it's white, not blonde? Okay, now I feel better.
Yeah, that's actually, no, sorry. I didn't realize the video wasn't that good.
It's MacBook Gold, my friends.
MacBook Blonde.
MacBook Blonde.
See, that's yet another benefit of being like a competitive runner. You can say, oh, no, it's not going great. Gosh, I spend so much time running. The sun just keeps bleaching it, but what can you do?
It's like the surfer claim. Yeah, right.
I'm gonna buy 2 of these. I'm gonna go all in on this Hub Plus. Gonna buy 2 of them because Lisa.
If you daisy chain them, then what happens?
I think it's like crossing the streams. I think, I think the universe ends, but I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Lisa ordered one, but now after hearing you guys talk about it, I'm thinking I'm gonna get a MacBook too. It's
pretty cool. I had one of those really dangerous reactions, especially now that I'm like packing it up to send it back to Apple. That's like, I have $1,300.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make another $1,300 very quickly. I can have this if I want.
That's the big negative. It really is pricey. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is pricey, but again, for people who do nothing but travel, it's like I think they'll forget about and if they have that kind of money, they'll forget about that purchase after their first trip with it. Yeah, this is one of the pictures that goes with the review. A friend of mine has a 17-inch MacBook Pro. And I had to take this picture of the new MacBook on top of it.
The mini-me.
It feels like you could close the MacBook Pro and it wouldn't even know there's another computer inside.
It's like here's the novelty like greeting card that Apple ships with the MacBook Pro. Here's your startup guide.
Hey, can iBookery is posing an interesting Apple Watch Connect. Could I use the Amazon app, which does have one-click purchasing on the Apple Watch, to buy a MacBook from my watch?
Only one way to find out. and Leo, because we got at least another half hour like on the show, you won't be able to rescind the order.
No. Our show today.
Yes, I'm the red devil on your shoulder.
You are. Put Andy on my left shoulder, and I'm afraid there's nobody on the right.
No way. Angel Andy is also saying, you know what? I think that you can be more productive. Your mission to reach out to your listeners.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I will have to wait. There he is. So, Susie, get on my left shoulder and tell me things like, But the next one will
have two ports. And maybe it'll be $100
don't
cheaper.
share any of those snacks that you received this month.
You're
You're the one who keeps this entire system afloat, Leo.
Angel Andy,
Putting
you're
usually
small
on
enough
is
to
a
eat
more
this
difficult
micro
endeavor
popcorn. Let me
here.
just give you a little bit of the micro
Here, let's see here.
popcorn.
I don't know if I have it. No.
Our show today brought to you by
I'm not gonna be able to do it.
Audible.com. Having Audibles like having little Andy on your shoulder or a little book reader on your shoulder reading to you. I was cooking yesterday and I put my iPhone in my pocket with the speaker pointed up and I listen to my audiobooks as I'm going around. I love Audible.com. First of all, I love to read. Who doesn't love to read? But as I've gotten older, it's harder on my eyes. I spend every waking moment doing something like driving or shopping or walking the dog or on the treadmill, so I can't hold a book. Audible means I get many more hours of listening time in. And man, I just love Audible. Lisa's listening to a great Audible book right now. It's called The Girl on the Train. And she says, ooh, does this have a twist? The Girl on the Train from Paula Hawkins. She's loving it. And this is one of the things Audible does so well. There's several narrators in the book. So each of them has a different reader, Claire Corbett, Louise Brealey, and India Fisher, and that's great. That makes it, that in a way, that's something you can't do with a printed page. It really makes it like you're listening to this incredible story. It's reminding me a little bit of Gone Girl, which we also listen to at Audible.com. I like to listen to a nonfiction as well, and I just read, that's how I read the Steve Jobs, the Becoming Steve Jobs book, and I loved it. Neil Stephenson's newest comes out in just this would be the one so here's the deal. We're going to get you a free book. And if I were you, the new Neil Stephenson comes out in a week. I might just say, yeah, I'm going to get this as my free book. First of all, 31 hours and 55 minutes. You're definitely getting your poundage-wise, you're getting your money's worth. Here's what's going to happen. You go to audible.com/MacBreak. You'll sign up. You won't pay anything for a month. In that month, you'll get a credit toward a free book. You'll also get the daily digest of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal every day. And you can cancel anytime in that first 30 days. Pay nothing. The book will be yours to keep forever. But I think the deal is, I think you're going to love audiobooks, but Audible understands. Oh, Jurassic Park. Oh, wow. Was that ever on audio? Oh, my gosh. Scott Brick reads it. He's one of their best. I think that probably people say, yeah, the reading is brand new, 2014, or 2015, I should say, by Brilliance Audio. So apparently this is the 25th anniversary of Jurassic Park, the novel. You might wonder, what's that like? I could play a sample. Every audiobook has a sample at Audible.com.
Now, Dr. Cruz said, lowering the plastic flap of the oxygen tent around Tina as she slept. Mike Bowman sat beside the bed, close to his daughter. Mike thought Dr. Cruz was probably pretty capable. He spoke excellent English, the result of training at medical...
I want to stop the show and finish the book. You don't mind, do you? Try it. Your first book's free. Audible.com/MacBreak. The only challenge is picking just one. But you know what? Next month you get more. Audible.com/MacBreak. I didn't ask Andy. Usually I ask Andy. The problem is every time Come on, Susie, talk me out of it. Come on, Andy, talk me into it. Come on, Susie, talk me out of it. Every time we do an Audible, I like to ask Andy what he's been listening to. And the problem with that is that it's doubled the list of books that I just got the Patton Oswalt book. What do you listen to today, Andy? What should I add to my list?
The last Audible book I bought was Dick Cavett has been writing a whole bunch of essays opinionator essays for the New York Times. And so he has a new book, Brief Encounters, Conversations, Magic Moments, and Assorted Hijinks. And it is a whole bunch of these essays read by Dick Cavett. And he's just such a...
I love his voice.
He just has this... Exactly. He's a broadcaster, so he knows how to tell a story, and also he doesn't, he knows not to have the microphone like right next to his nose, so that and stuff like that. He makes sure he has the coffee like before he goes and does that sort of stuff. But they're well written pieces, and they're just good old fashioned old style like opinion pieces that you'd find like in the New Yorker during the heyday of the place. And it like Patton Oswalt's book. Somehow it really it almost seems like it's better suited to spoken word spoken by the author than it is on the page, because I think I read most of these when they were originally printed and I enjoyed them, but hearing him talk this way about being at the funeral for James Gandolfini, I was not representing anybody, perhaps. And it's like, oh goodness, I will make my Apple Watch happy by completing my circle and doing some more walking if it means I get to hear the rest of this story.
I asked a learned friend about this, Dr. J. Meltzer, the legendary physician to whom I went for medicine until he retired, and to whom I still go for his culinary gifts and for education and tutoring on tough subjects.
But you hear that smile? I feel like he's always making a joke. You know, he's always like a little...
Is the next great frontier of discovery.
Audible.com/MacBreak. Thank you, Andy, for yet another book I have to add to my endless list.
Yes. I'm here to make you want things, acquire more things. I only wish it could be a material possession that could burden you. And
I wish I had to commute.
Go.
I like Audible so much, I wish I had a commute. I don't, so that's why I listen like every moment while I'm cooking and stuff. I just have it playing.
I've said it before. My subscription to Audible has really upped my house cleaning game, because it's like I cannot motivate myself to spend 45 minutes vacuuming and dusting the living room. But if I know that I've got another, like Neil Gaiman's book of short stories, I will clean until the end of this next short story. And sometimes I screw myself because, this is one of the ones that actually takes 3 hours. Okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have Neil Gaiman tell me a story while I vacuum.
Oh, shucks. Yeah, that's another one I added, the new Neil Gaiman. Apple Pay. Some big Apple Pay wins. First of all, according to Time, Apple Pay is creaming currency in the mobile payment wars. And what a surprise. Walmart's Current C is the worst idea ever. But there are a number of retailers who have signed up to this, not just Walmart, but CVS and Target. They created the Merchant Customer Exchange, and they said, instead of using Apple Pay, we're going to do this currency, which involves a trade of QR codes. It's like so clunky. And obviates one of the chief benefits of Apple Pay, which is that the merchant doesn't get your credit card number or any personal information. That's why Walmart doesn't like it.
Yeah.
The good news is it isn't working. And I went to the CVS the other day, and I tried to use my Apple Pay, and they said, no, those things aren't hooked up. And I just said, then I'm not hooked up either. I'm out of here. Actually, I did buy it, but it's enough to make me not want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I do find myself shopping at places if I can use my Google Wallet to pay for it. I mean, I'm not going to buy something I wouldn't buy otherwise,
No.
That's part of it. It actually makes buying things kind of fun, or at least you feel better. It's easier. You get emailed receipts, and it's a lot more trusted transaction. I got to say though, I did read that report, and I was a little bit confused by it because I wasn't aware that Current C was actually deployed.
It isn't at my CVS. I don't know.
It's still. I think it's still being tested.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so how could it be a winner or a loser? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. But it's a loser. Definitely.
It's obviously a loser. That's how.
Because it's always a horse race.
Right. It has to be a horse race, doesn't it?
Just on technical specs, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like it really is exactly what a coalition of national stores would create for themselves. They would say, we don't want to bother ourselves by having to install special equipment that makes it easy for this stuff to operate. So we can just do the cheapest way possible, make it as difficult as possible for the consumer. Also, we're going to make sure we're collecting as much data as possible, stuff that we could never get if we were just doing Apple Pay. And also, we're going to share this information with all the other people in our coalition. And guess what? Because this is also an app, we can actually have the app tracking our user and making sure we know exactly where that person is at all times. And it's just such jerk behavior that, like, I've been actively telling people, just don't even install it, don't even use it whenever it ships. It's just so the wrong way to do it, and I can't imagine that it will get anything like a toehold on phone payments that NFC, Google Wallet, and Apple Pay have. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, they want to cut out the credit card companies entirely, and they want to go from currency.
Well, that's right. It doesn't use a credit card, does it?
No, so Walmart and those big stores, they pay the credit card fees, and that's billions of dollars a year for them. So they want to cut out the credit card fee, and Walmart would love to just basically become your bank at some point. And so they're trying to save money and have it be good for them, whereas Apple Pay is set up to be good for the consumer. And I think that, they've done a really good job of that. Like Andy says, it doesn't track you. It doesn't pass along your credit card information. Home Depot, who I think was part of this MCS Merchant Exchange possibly, but now they're saying, no, we're going to go do Apple Pay. We want to get in on Apple Pay. And that's one of the reasons that people use Apple Pay is because there was that big Home Depot breach and everyone had to get new credit card numbers.
Yeah.
So the consumer isn't liable for fraud or anything, but that's still, that's a pain in the butt. So you get consumer protections with your credit card, and you're not liable for fraud, but it's the merchants have to pay a fee every time you use it. And that's what Currency wants to eliminate.
Home Depot says 2,000 stores. It'll be the largest installation of Apple Pay anywhere. I think you're right. I seem to remember their name in that Currency list.
Yeah.
They want to put it in 2,000 stores. And, of course, those of us who are Apple, fanboys will actually shop there more, right, because they have Apple Pay. I don't find it that much more useful, although with it on the watch, it is, I just find that I still have to do so many, at least at our grocery store across the street, so many fiddly bits. I still have to say credit or debit. I have to, on my ATM, I have to give them a PIN. I still have to say cashback or not. And so by that time, the savings.
Paper or plastic.
Yeah, no, we don't get that choice in California.
Oh, not in
Cruelty
California.
free or extra cruelty.
Mostly it's like, do you want to buy a bag is the one I get all the time now. So customers apparently were able to use, if you're saying, wait a minute, the Home Depot had Apple Pay. Some of the Home Depots had Apple Pay. Just because
a store doesn't have to be officially supporting Apple Pay. If they have an NFC terminal, you can try it and it works. I used my Apple Pay on my iPhone 6 at CVS on launch day, and then the next day they turned it off.
Yeah. So annoying.
Yeah, me too.
So a lot of places, if you see that little symbol that looks like a Wi-Fi symbol turned over on its side, you just give it a try, and most of the time it works.
That's very cool.
I wonder if the question is if it really works, or if in fact those charges just go into Never Land.
But does it really work?
Yeah, it really works.
Just
I've
go
never
down a
been able
hole.
to test it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Let's talk. Apparently, the Beats is imminent. Some are saying that Apple will announce it at WWDC, which seems about right for the timeline. That would be late June. We would also get iOS 8.4 at that time. Stories all over. We mentioned last week that the Apple was getting a little kind of the stink eye from the federal government for going to music labels and saying, be nice if you didn't give away free music on Spotify. Hint, hint. Which is obviously anti-competitive. Spotify's accusing Apple of anti-competitive behavior as well. Does anybody have anything to say? I feel like the silence here tells me that you're all on the beta of Beats and you're just laughing at me now.
No, I'm just curious.
I'm just waiting.
Exactly.
Nothing to say.
It's kind of like it's interesting. It'll be an interesting test to see why Spotify is so popular. That if let's say that the labels that have a lot of motivation to turn off free streaming because they want to make money from subscriptions. They want to make money, period. It's be interesting to see if the reason why Spotify and some of these services are so popular is because people like not having to pay for things. And even if you tell people to pay $8 to $10 a month, that's not a hell of a lot of money, but that's the difference between free and not free. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out.
Personally, I think that a lot of it's going to come down to ease of use. I mean, this is once you have one of these services, you tend to use it a lot. You tend to live in it. And so I personally use Rdio rather than Spotify because at the time I was making the decision, Spotify's interface wasn't as good. And I think that will be a question with Apple. If they're forcing us into iTunes and it's the usual iTunes interface, it may just be annoying to a lot of people. If it's a separate app, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But I do feel as though they're all offering kind of the same thing. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, and you'll be making your decision based on personal preference in terms of interface, or maybe the price will be just a hair different if you get a family plan, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I use Rdio too, and one of the things that I like about using it on my Mac is that I don't really launch iTunes very much anymore. So that's been a hidden benefit. But then, and I love using it. It's very cross-platform. I use it on my iPhone, but when you have all your music in the music app on the iPhone, you can have, Siri play you a song. I can't do that with Rdio. So Apple has an advantage that they can build whatever service they have like so deeply into the ecosystem that you're already using. So that'll really help. And then like Adam said, all the services are really similar. So what Beats, I think, is trying to do, and also Tidal, since Jay-Z relaunched it, is they're going for like exclusives. So they want to get Taylor Swift to pull all her music off Spotify. They want to make her a sweet deal so all her stuff is on Beats. And that's where they're going to try to hang their hat, is the curation and the exclusives. But, it'll remain to be seen if that's enough to get a lot of people to switch.
How sticky are these services?
Well, they actually are fairly sticky because once you've got a big collection in one of them, it's a pain in the butt to move.
Collection? You mean like playlists?
Yeah, no, I mean, literally, well, maybe people do it differently than I do. I don't make playlists, but I go through my favorite stuff.
Okay.
And so I can then play my favorites just in a big, randomize everything, or I can go to a specific artist. I tend not to do playlists.
It's not the different...
But I don't know how to export.
It's not what's... Yeah, because that's the question. It's the same music on all of it, right? Everybody's
pretty much.
But how do I get that list out? Because I found all these great weird bands in Rdio, and I like their music, but I'm going to have to go and literally write them down.
Well, I wonder,
so I can find a playlist somewhere.
Wouldn't it behoove Apple to have some sort of import capability, or maybe there isn't? Maybe they need cooperation from Beats. I mean, from Spotify.
I think they need cooperation, unless there's some way of
Can you export export Spotify collections? There's no.
I don't know about Spotify and Rdio. There's no way to do that. And what I've been hoping is that there's deep in the system somewhere like a plist file that keeps track of all this stuff. But I don't think so. I think it's just a web interface.
Jay-Z says you can import playlists from Spotify to Tidal, according to the chat room. But Jay-Z's been known to say many things.
That would be really handy if you could take your playlist with you when you left, but I don't know why Spotify and Rdio would want to let you take your playlist with you when you left.
But that's the stickiness, right? In every other respect, I mean, you can move around. The prices are the same. Everything's $10 a month, except for Tidal, which you pay extra for high quality if you want it. Warner Music, which is one of the big 5 record labels, I guess it's down to big 3. I don't know how many there are anymore, says streaming revenue surpassed revenue from downloads for the first time ever. I don't understand, because aren't they saying over and over again how streaming is losing the money, blah, blah, blah. In this quarter, says Warner, we saw continued growth in streaming revenue. It surpassed download revenue for the first time in the history of our recorded music business. 43%.
So that's revenue for the record label?
43.9% of the total revenue is now to Warner is now streaming. That's a 0.7% improvement.
Wow.
So I don't know what is the rest. If they're roughly equal, that means we've got 10% of revenue from other sources. What, cocaine sales? I don't know what that would. I don't know what that would be. Anyway, I for one will be very interested to see what Beats does. I use Google All Access, and there is a feature both Amazon and Google offer that Apple could offer that would beat Rdio and Spotify. That's the ability to upload your existing library. And Apple, because it has iTunes Match, it probably already has that information, right? If they included that in Beats, would that be interesting to you? The reason I say that, for instance, I have the entire Beatles collection, which you can't listen to I don't think, on Spotify or Rdio. Oh. But because it's in my library, I can listen to it on Google All Access.
I thought Rdio let you access your music on the local device. I don't do that.
But it's not local. I have it. It's not going to be on my phone. It's at home.
No.
But because I uploaded it to Google Play, to Google Music, I can stream it on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I listen to Rdio almost entirely on my main Mac, so I don't really care too much about the phone for the amount that I'm losing it there.
But that would be a competitive advantage if they did. And by the way, for me, it would be a disadvantage. If Beats doesn't do that, there's not a chance in hell I'm going to switch over. But there are a lot of people who, like me, who pay $25 a year for iTunes Match. Apple knows my music library. They have my entire music library.
Well, I mean, thinking about it, it makes sense that Apple would build this into iTunes, much as I sort of hate to say that. And so once the music is in iTunes, one would hope that they would be able to access your existing library at the same time.
Well, we'll just see. I have a fantasy, which I realize is a total fantasy, that Apple has been rewriting iTunes, like
again,
to like totally rewriting iTunes, and that this will be a re-release, a brand new iTunes in addition to Beats.
Didn't they say version 12 was already rewritten? And
it's not rewritten. It's rewritten to break it, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
because different is good.
Yeah.
I realized that the one thing that would get me as a user really interested in Beats is if they said the first part of a half-hour presentation on music on Apple devices is we threw out iTunes, we started all over again. If they did something as radical with their music app as they did with their Photos app, that would get my attention in a huge hurry, because it's like Susan was saying earlier. It's like I'm looking for ways to avoid using iTunes if I can possibly not use it.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why like I'm using the Amazon Music app and the Google Music app is simply because it's not iTunes and it's not the built-in iOS music app. I still remember when I was testing the when I got the iPhone 6 to review, and here is what it took to import my entire library from Amazon Music. Tap 2 buttons, and then like about after 20 minutes of downloads later, all of my music was on this device. And yet I had an Apple device connected to an Apple Macintosh using an Apple Music service, and nothing for no amount of pleas to God or any other worldly entity could get music off of this machine and into that phone. And I'm like, God. Apple built their whole... Apple's the company that fixed music on devices. How did they break it again?
Any shot at high-res music? The Apple hardware, I don't think, can play it back. If you go into the MIDI app, you can turn it up to a higher sampling rate, but you can't do 24-bit. I don't think.
Is there any indication that people would pay money for it? That people care about that?
I
people
would,
can't
but
hear it.
Yeah, it's just a small market,
I can't
right?
hear it.
Okay.
Yeah. People listen to music in the car. End of story.
Actually, take it back. You can go to 9624. I don't know if is that done in the DAC or if it's upsampled, but you can do that. So you have to use the audio MIDI setup to turn up the resolution. All right. Let's see what else before we take a break and get our picks. Anything else you guys want to talk about? We did briefly mention Marco Arment's article on redesigning Overcast for the Apple Watch. If you haven't read it, you should read it. iPhone 6S, according to Apple Insider, will come. Nobody knows. But according to Apple Insider, will come in rose gold, featuring 2 gigs of RAM. Believe it or not, the iPhone is still a gig RAM, right? And a 12-megapixel camera. And we're hearing lots of rumors about that camera being some sort of interesting new ray tracing camera or something. This is from Ming-Chi Kuo, who's pretty good.
I want an X-ray camera.
X-ray.
X-ray specs, just like in the comic books.
Yep, just like in the comic books.
I want an MRI. So that.
Oh, yeah. How about a functional MRI?
Exactly.
You start thinking about things, and it can see and hear.
Do I need to go in for this appendicitis thing right now, or can I complete binge watching Game of Thrones?
Oh, that tooth,
there you go.
Leo,
and like,
that tooth.
And three floating shaving heads.
Wouldn't that... While you're shaving, it's diagnosing your jaw.
Keeping your face kissably smooth.
The iPhone could be so much more. Don't we agree? No.
You're going to need a towelette for your phone, though.
Yes. Crossover. That's what we're talking. Crossover.
Actually, I guess the amount of RAM in an iPhone isn't really meaningful to compare that to the, say, 3 gigs of RAM in my Galaxy S6, because it's the operating system is tuned for that space, right?
Yeah, but I don't think anybody has ever said, "Oh my God, this thing is so slow. There's just so much damn application RAM in this thing." I would never fault an iPhone for having less than another phone that runs another operating system. But nonetheless, I wouldn't necessarily think it's a bad thing if they added more RAM.
It's like calories. More is better.
Yeah.
When you're eating it anyway.
Or fewer is
better if you're eating it. I don't know. Meaningless number, which people.
I need my watch to tell me which one is good.
Should I eat or burn?
I am literally rudderless without my smartwatch to tell me how I'm living my life.
Want to create a website? I got to tell you, squarespace.com. My daughter and her best friend just created a nonprofit themselves, and they created the website on Squarespace. They registered a domain name. Actually, Squarespace gives that to you for free when you sign up for a year. They tied it together. It's amazing. Squarespace lets you, Abby and Katie had no experience doing web design. They made a gorgeous looking site with lots of features, including e-commerce. Every Squarespace template has e-commerce. And if you've ran into difficulty, you just, Squarespace has live and chat and email support 24/7. So it's easy. And it starts at just $8 a month. That includes the hosting, that includes the software, tightly integrated, so you really get an amazing experience. And as I said, when you buy a year, you get a free domain name. All of them are responsive. That means they look good on any size screen. And this new cover pages thing is great. You could set up a beautiful one-page online presence in minutes. Just create a quick landing page for a brand, a personal identity to promote a new product, a new event. You'll love, if you're a musician, they have templates that let you do concert dates and sell music. It's just so great. Squarespace, the place to create a professional website, blog, or online store. Elegant, beautiful, simple, powerful. I want you to start your trial. You don't need a credit card. Just go to squarespace.com, click the Get Started button. You got 2 weeks to build your site. You can even import data from your old site and try it out, see how it looks. Switch around back and forth with the different templates. If you decide to buy, don't forget to use our offer code MacBreak. You'll get 10% off on your new account. Squarespace.com. Don't forget, it's free to try. You don't even need to give them a credit card. But if you decide to buy, 10% off with the offer code MacBreak. That's an excellent deal. Time for our picks of the week. I'm going to kick things off because I got a little thing for Andy Ihnatko. This is from Newer Tech. It's called a Snuglet. Have you seen these?
I've seen them, Yep.
It helps prevent accidental disconnection of MagSafe 2 connectors. You put the little, what the Snuglet basically is a shim, little metal shim that you put around your MagSafe 2 just to add a little bit to the size and heft of it, right? And then it's not going to fall out as easily because it doesn't particularly bother me, but everybody agrees that MagSafe 2 seems to fall out a little bit easier for some. And so it's a snap to just literally snap it in, put it into your MagSafe, and it's going to be snugger. Whoops. It sucked it right off of there. It's going to be snugger. Can you see this? I can move it. I guess I can't get this in the shot than it ever was before. Oh, wow. Now it's really in there. They actually, sometimes it's so tight, they have to give you a little Snuglet removal tool. Lets you pry it out. Newer Tech, they do good stuff. And this is actually a really interesting kind of solution to a problem that Andy's been bitching about for a long time. Snuglet. How much is it? Does it say? I don't see. $10 for 2 of them. I literally can't get my cable out now. It's stuck.
Problem solved.
It's hardwired now.
Whoops. I can't. You
just succeeded in creating the K-Pro 2000.
Oh, good. I got that. But now the Snuglet's stuck in there. That's why you need the Snuglet removal tool.
I'd like to circle back to my earlier point that perhaps this was poorly designed and Apple should revisit their design.
I can't get it out. All right, now I have to buy a MacBook.
There you go.
Oh, man. Oh. Andy, you have a pick?
Indeed, I do. We were talking about photos earlier, and this is something that I saw promoted on the Mac Store over the weekend, and downloaded it, and then downloaded the demo, and then was buying like the full version like about 20 minutes later. It's called Noiseless, and it's a really simple noise reduction app for your photos. Especially when you're taking pictures at night and your iPhone or even your SLR has to up the ISOs to get the proper exposure. because there's so much more power being dumped into the image sensor, there's a lot more heat and it creates all these random like color spackly noises. And since time immemorial, there's been software that tries to make this stuff less noticeable. I don't think I've seen another app that makes it as easy as Noiseless. It will analyze the image for content and try to apply the best level of noise reduction, the most intelligent level of noise reduction. And if it guesses wrong, it's not the actual app isn't that much more complicated than what you're seeing in this web demo. You can just do quick A/Bs. There are it gives you like little big buttons on the other side of the screen that simply say more intense, less intense, and for each one you can do fine-tune things, or you can take it fully off of automatic and get just this page full of sliders that let you adjust things. I took some pictures at 6400 ISO, which is really high ISO for the camera that I have at Yosemite, but I had to because I'm using a long zoom and I'm taking pictures of a moving critter. And you're sort of, you see there on the left, you sort of have to settle for there's going to have to be a lot of noise. That was even with Adobe Lightroom doing noise reduction. That's the best I could get it with Adobe Lightroom's built-in noise reduction.
Wow, that's amazing.
And exactly. And on the right there, that was about 30 seconds. There was really no more than, it automatically shows intense, which sort of smoothed it out so much that you couldn't see all the details and the feathers. I went 2 clicks lower, and then even then took the slider for moderate and took it down a little bit. So I didn't even have to go into the really super sophisticated, like fine-tuned controls. It was just, nope, not less. Okay, that's about right. A little bit less than that. Perfect. Let's ship that one. And because it will work, it can work as a handoff app for Lightroom and other apps. You can use it in Pixelmator and just simply at this point I really want to apply some better noise reduction, and then you hands off to Noiseless, and then you're done, and then that TIFF file gets handed right back to the app, and it gets round tripped, and you don't even have to deal with it. So it really does show off the fact that there's an extent to which having a big camera with a really sophisticated sensor isn't quite so important if you have 30 seconds to put this into a desktop app or even a really good mobile app, to just an app that does nothing but take care of noise reduction for you. So this is why I think we're all paying close attention to see what Apple does with the iPhone 6s, because there's an argument to be made that maybe it's not quite so important now to have a really fancy schmancy image sensor if you can have if the CPU on the device is powerful enough to do post-processing later on. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much as quick and easy as that. And as I said, it's one of those wonderful things where $18, I don't know, I want to risk 18. Oh, there's a demo. Well, okay, I guess I'll use the demo then. $18 doesn't seem like a lot of money. Let's buy this for $18 right now, and let's reprocess everything I've posted on Flickr for the past 6 months.
Actually, $18 is cheap for a plugin like this. That's nothing.
Yeah, and it exists, and the great thing is it exists as a standalone app, so it's not necessarily you're getting a minimized, stripped down interface. Really easy to use, and I can't argue with the results.
They also have a pro version for $50 that has additional features, including RAW, which is
I think it will. In Lightroom, at least, Lightroom will export a TIFF file that is the same bit depth as a RAW file.
Sure.
So I have to plead ignorance. All I saw was the price differential between the regular version and the pro version. Said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't I just give them the $18 for this, and then later on I'll convince myself if I need the pro version. And the ordinary version seems to work just fine for me.
Neat. It's from MacPhun, MacPhun.
MacPhun.
MacPhun. Oh, that's how you say it. Susie Ochs, you got a pick for us? I don't know. Did they warn you?
No.
You know what? I didn't. I apologize.
Oh, my God.
That's okay.
Okay, think if you want. You could think, and I'll have Adam do it.
No, I got one.
Okay, fire away.
So one of our awesome freelancers, Andrew Hayward, did a roundup of Apple Watch games.
Ooh.
And I know you're thinking, why would I want to play a game on my Apple Watch? That's bananas.
It'll kill the battery fast.
No, but there's a few of them that are kind of cool. Like, I've been playing one called Lifeline.
Yes,
and
that is cool.
It's $3. You buy it on the phone, and then it has a watch thing. And it's like text adventures. Remember text adventures?
Mm-hmm.
So it's you and another person, not another person. You're texting back and forth with the character in the game, and it's a real-time thing. So he crash landed, and he says, okay, I got to go over there and see something. It's going to take me 2 hours to hike there. And you say, okay, go check it out. And then 2 hours later, your watch is going to buzz.
Oh,
so
that's
it's
good. That's a good way to use that.
Real time thing all day, and it's not. It's easy to control. It's easy to get into, and the story really sucks you in. So I'm not a great gamer. I can't play shooters. I can't play driving games, but I'm a sucker for a good story, and this has a good story. So $3, check it out. I really like it. If you have an Apple Watch and you want to do something unique that's built right for the watch and it's entertaining. Lifeline.
It's kind of not, but it's like real-time Zork, which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Yeah, Megan talked about this on iPad yesterday, and that really seemed like fun. Yeah. Not that's not to diminish the contributions.
Well, yeah, now you just, No. Another endorsement.
And then you should go to macworld.com and read all of them, right?
Yeah, many he found 10, and I was really, I was like, Apple Watch games. That's
Does he like Trivia Crack? Because I see I can do it on the watch.
I think that one's in here, yeah.
The watch is so limited because it doesn't do animation. It really just does slideshows. So it's perfect for something like that. Text adventure. Yeah. Adam Engst, tidbits.com. Giant penguin sneaking up on you.
Giant? Yeah, they're really not very stealthy. Okay, so I have an unusual one. Website, applespecialist.com. What I was, in fact, I was out by you last week. I was in San Francisco and field trip up to Novato to see Drive Savers, but I was there for the ASMC conference. This is a bunch of Apple specialists. Now, we talk a lot about Apple stores, the big gleaming glass edifices of commerce, but there are still hundreds and hundreds of independent Apple resellers and service people out there. And I had no idea. It really didn't occur to me that there were this many of them. And this was at their conference. So I was like, wow, there's a whole lot of people here. Who knew? And so these are the mom and pop stores that are, helping small businesses. They're doing training. They're doing all sorts of cool stuff that Apple stores, maybe not so much, where you walk in and you're thinking, oh, my goodness, there's a whole lot of 20-somethings in T-shirts here. And so one person I talked to said that the Apple specialists are Apple stores for grown-ups. So I would just encourage people, if you're looking for an Apple reseller who will sit down and talk with you, go to the applespecialist.com site and see if there's any around you. Unfortunately,
I'm glad they exist still.
Yeah, I said I was just surprised. And I gather it's a tough business. I mean, Apple will actually open stores, around the corner from them and put them out of business.
Yep.
But nonetheless, there's still a lot of them out there, and they're doing great stuff, in terms of you need something a little different. Or, frankly, the Apple Store gets too busy or whatnot, and they say, go take your broken iPhone off to these people, Mac Fusion in San Diego or somewhere. And, they're doing the same kind of service. They're all totally Apple authorized. They're selling totally official Apple devices. They can't get the Apple Watch yet, but they do sell the iPad and the Mac, and they're getting better at the iPhone. There's carrier issues with that. So, but as I said, I was surprised. I just think people should, support your local businesses, and if you can do that while buying your Apple products, all the more power.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, we have on This Week in Enterprise Tech, we had a sponsor, New York company that did that.
TechServe?
TechServe.
TechServe, they're one of the big ones.
Yeah.
They're very well known. They do great work down there.
And you want them if you're like setting up, a newspaper running on Macs or something like that, where you really have a specialty, and that's much better than an Apple store with somebody who come in and really do a system.
Yeah, people doing great audio stuff. You want to set up a recording studio.
Perfect example.
Who are you going to buy from?
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. ASMC. What's the site again?
Applespecialist.com.
Applespecialist.com. Hey, I didn't mention, but I will briefly mention Craig Hockenberry's post on his website, furbo.org. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Can you say this on air?
I can't, and so don't look too closely at the screen.
Stands no more.
But I love Craig Hockenberry. He's great. He's a very smart guy, and he did discover some sort of weird error in a daemon that runs on most Macintosh computers, part of Yosemite. He says he filed bug report after bug report. It's the Discovery D daemon. And he says this piece of software is responsible for a large portion of the 1,000 cuts. Personally, I've wasted many hours just trying to keep my devices talking to each other. As soon as he published this article, I did what he recommended. First of all, if you're using the latest version of Yosemite, that's the first fix. But then, because Discovery's D will be cached and kind of the errors that it creates will be persistent, his suggestion is to go around and unplug. It screws up bonjour. Is go around and unplug all your Apple TVs. He says it's ironic that the people who get bit by this are the ones who are the most devoted Apple fans, who have a lot of Apple stuff like an Apple router and Apple TVs. Unplug all your Apple TVs. Unplug all your Apple routers. I did this. Then replug the router. Let it sit for a second so it forgets all of the data that's in there. Replug your router. And then plug in the Apple TV. And while I was having a lot of trouble with dropped networks and discovery issues, and I can't say for sure that fixed it. I haven't had a problem since. So maybe it's voodoo. Maybe it's a little. Maybe it's an actual prophylactic workaround. But reboot everything and unpoison. He says, what happens if someone running an older version of OS X connects to your network and poisons it? Reboot again. So make sure you've got up-to-date devices on your system, and then reboot it all. Discovery D is not related to Tenacious D. Thank you, everybody. Susie, you did great. I appreciate your stopping by. It was so nice to have you. Please come back soon.
Yeah, anytime. That was
Love
fun.
it. Macworld.com. SF Suze on the Twitter, SOOZ. Adam Engst is tidbits.com. If you're not already a subscriber, please don't miss out. Every week you get something really useful. And of course, he's got the books. He's also got a place where you can donate, and I think that's a good thing. Become a supporter. Tidbits.com if you want to know more. Andy Ihnatko with the Chicago Sun-Times. So nice to have you on.
Always a slice, Leo.
We'll see you all next week. Renee Ritchie was he on assignment?
I guess I more had kind of an offsite thing.
Oh, they had an offsite. Okay. So he'll be back next week along with Andy. And I hope you will too. We do MacBreak Weekly, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC every Tuesday. We'd love for you to join us live, but if you can't, don't worry. You can come back and watch anytime. We've got on-demand audio and video available at twit.tv/MBW. It's on iTunes. It's on the podcast app on your iPhone and your iPad. And you can also, there's many other podcast apps like Overcast. You'll find Twit and MacBreak Weekly in every single one of them, including the dedicated Twit apps that our community has written. Thank you. I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for being here. Thanks to our producer, Jason Howell, for actually finding stories this week. It was not easy, but you did it.
What I got to do.
It's your job, man.
I cover all the corners of the internet.
Yep. We'll see you next time. Now get back to work because break time is over.